All right, everybody, we are back this week for UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi, Whittaker versus De Ridder, live from the Etihad Arena in the United Arab Emirates, with a main event in the middleweight division between the former UFC middleweight champion and Robert the Reaper Whittaker taking on the rising contender, the former double champ in one championship, undefeated in the UFC, trying to stake his claim and punch his ticket to a title fight with the winner from UFC 319 in the Dutch night, Reinier De Ridder. And then in the co-main event of the evening, you have a very intriguing matchup in the bantamweight division between the former champion and the number 3 ranked Petr No Mercy Yan taking on a rising contender who is also undefeated in the UFC in the MMA labs, Marcus the Maniac McGhee. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right, everybody, we got another early card. Thank God. Everybody loves these early cards, unless you like to sleep in. But, yeah, I'm excited. I like early cards. I'm usually off on the weekends, so it works out better for me, not, waiting all day until late at night to watch the fights. I like the early cards. Maybe I'm in the minority. Some people like the later cards. I don't. I never have. I would rather watch them early and get it over with and make our money early in the day, baby. But, yeah, last week was good. I mean, it started off really good. I think we were like 6-1 through the first 7 fights, and then everything just fell apart in like the most diabolical way in the main card. I think I went 1-4 on the main card. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. Kevin Holland shit the bed. Michael Johnson beat Daniel Zellhuber, which, I'm not 100% surprised, but I wish I would have just trusted myself and took a shot on him because he was such a big underdog. And I can understand the people who took a shot on D-Rod too, just because Kevin Holland is the guy who wins all these fights, and then he's winning and he just shits the bed and loses these fights that he should be winning. So if you took a shot on Michael Johnson, beautiful. You took a shot on Daniel Rodriguez, beautiful. But, yeah, the card went okay. I mean, the main event, it was good. I didn't think it was unbelievable. It was a great fight. Good main event, like definitely main event worthy. That's goes without saying. But yeah, I don't know. Like I thought the card overall was very strong. I kind of wish we got a finish in the main event, and we almost did on a couple of different occasions, but we went 5 rounds. And yeah, now we go into UFC Abu Dhabi, which has some very interesting matchups. We're going to start off first with Martin Buday taking on Marcus Buchecha, the standout grappler, multiple-time jiu-jitsu world champion, 5-1 in MMA, coming over to the UFC from one championship. I believe it's one championship. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, when you got Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha, I think Buday is the much better striker, and if the fight stays on the feet, then I think Buday wins this, He's going to be longer. He's going to use his punches, use his range, use his reach, and stay on the outside. I just don't think he's going to be able to stop the takedowns of Buchecha. Buchecha has great takedowns, and when he gets on top of you, a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's going to look for submissions. But this guy's got good ground and pound as well. Good elbows, good hammer fists. I mean, he throws hard when he gets on top of you, and he's very heavy on top. And you would expect that from a world championship level grappler. And I've seen Buday get taken down and, get controlled. I don't think he's going to be the easiest guy to take down, but I think once Buchecha gets him on the ground, I think he's going to just kind of beat him up and do whatever he wants to him. I don't necessarily see Buday being able to get back up to the feet once he does get taken down, but I think if he can stop the takedowns and keep it on the feet, then I think Buday probably TKOs him late second, third round. I think he will TKO him if it's a primary striking matchup. But I think for the most part, it's going to be starting out and striking, and then once Buchecha gets it to the ground, I think it's just going to be over with. So I could see a first-round submission for Buchecha. I just really don't think Buday has much of anything to offer off of his back. Like I said, in the transition from the feet to the grappling, if he can stop the takedowns, he'll win. And he'll look like a pretty big favorite because he definitely is going to be the crisper, cleaner striker, and he will outstrike Buchecha. And a lot of these grappling heavy fighters, they don't like to get hit. And once they get hit, you know the saying, like a black belt becomes a brown belt, becomes a blue belt, or becomes a purple belt, becomes a blue belt, becomes a green belt. You know the saying with every punch that they take. And I kind of see Buchecha as a similar situation, but I just don't think Buday's takedown defense is good enough in order to stop the takedowns from eventually having him hit the mat and then allowing Buchecha to get on top and beat him up. So I'm going to take Buchecha. I think he wins second round arm triangle choke submission. So that's going to be my pick. Give me the UFC newcomer. Give me Marcus Buchecha, round 2 arm triangle choke submission. I think he takes down Buday, softens him up in round 1, takes him down in round 2, and gets the arm triangle choke. Let's move on now, guys. But yeah, we're going Buchecha, round 2 sub. All right, next up is Mohammad Yahya taking on Stephen Nguyen. I believe that's how you say it. Shout out to my boy Mikey. I thought it was Stephen Nguyen. I believe it's Nguyen. So, you know, I'm sure he'll correct me once he watches this. But with this fight, guys, I just don't think Mohammad Yahya is UFC level. And although I don't think Stephen Nguyen is the highest level, I don't think he's going to be like a contender or a champion. I think he's good enough to beat up Mohammad Yahya. You know, and I think that's what it comes down to. Aside from a one-shot KO, like a fluky KO from Mohammad Yahya, I think he gets pieced up by Stephen Nguyen. I think Nguyen is going to use his jab, use his 1-2, keep that high guard with the elbows in, and just start piecing him up with combinations. I think the better kicker is probably Mohammad Yahya, but I just haven't seen anything at all from this guy. He doesn't have good takedown defense. He doesn't have good jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have a good ability to get back up to his feet. He has decent power on the feet, but he leaves himself open for counter shots, and I really just think Stephen Nguyen is going to just pick him apart. Like I said, I don't think Nguyen is the greatest fighter in this division. I don't think he's going to be a contender. I don't even think he's going to get to the top 15. You know, maybe he will. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think he's good enough to finish off Mohammad Yahya. So I think the jab's going to work well. I think he's going to catch Yahya coming in. I think Yahya's going to throw big, powerful, looping shots. And Nguyen's just going to be the cleaner fighter with the straighter punches that's going to counter him on his way in. And I think eventually he's going to start ripping those shots to the body, coming back up top, and I think he's going to finish him off in the second round. So my pick is going to be Stephen Nguyen, second round TKO. I think he's going to beat up Yahya on the feet. I think he's going to be much sharper, much cleaner, and aside from a fluky knockout where Yahya lands like a big overhand or a fluky head kick, I don't think he's going to win because I just don't think Mohammad Yahya is UFC level. I think if you send this guy down to the regional scene, he gets his ass beat, regardless of him being in the UFC. So I'm going to take Nguyen. He's better, he's cleaner, he's sharper, he has more potential, and he's just like the better fighter overall. So give me the better fighter. And the idea is we're picking the better fighters, right, on this show. So give me Stephen Nguyen to be crisper with the hands, outbox him, rip up top, rip to the body, hurt him in round 2, and fold him like an accordion. My pick is Stephen Nguyen, round 2 TKO, over one of the biggest frauds in UFC history, in Mohammad Yahya. So Stephen Nguyen, round 2 TKO. Let's move on. All right, next fight up is in the light heavyweight division. You have Aslan taking on Billy Elekana. Yeah, this is actually a pretty tough fight for me to predict. You know, Aslan, he has big power. He has big knockout power. He can come forward, get in your face, and knock you out. And from the minute the fight starts to the minute the fight ends, he's looking to KO you. And against Iwan Kutelaba, he got exposed. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He got taken down, had nothing to offer off of his back, got, you know, beat up with a little bit of ground and pound, and basically gave up and got submitted early in a fight where I believe he could have finished Kutelaba pretty early if he wanted to. But again, got taken down, didn't have much off of his back. We saw Billy Elekana take down a guy who's going to be fighting later on this card in Bogdan Guskov. Take him down, take his back, almost submit him, and just kind of dominate him for the majority of the first round, almost get a submission, but then just fell off a cliff. Now, he took the fight on short notice. He had no cardio. The fight should have been stopped via TKO, but I guess the ref wanted to see Billy die. So that's a story for another day. And eventually he just took that front choke, the 10-finger guillotine, and made Billy tap out. And I believe Bogdan Guskov by sub was like plus 1,500, something crazy. But it should have been a TKO, but it wasn't. The ref let him die, and it is what it is. In this fight, I think the power of Aslan, you know, big shocker here, could make the difference. You know, I think if he lands on Elekana's chin, puts him down, he can definitely knock him out. But the fighter who I think is cleaner, the fighter who I think has more ways to win, I think it's Billy Elekana. I think Elekana has better grappling. He's got much better jiu-jitsu. If he takes down Ibo Aslan, I think he pretty much dominates him on the ground. But Aslan just has so much power. Like, he might touch this guy once and hurt him and then just finish him off. But if he rocks Billy Elekana and can't finish him, Elekana probably comes back and starts to put the combinations together himself, starts to pump the jab, starts to throw the 1-2, starts to rip to the body, starts to put that volume on Ibo Aslan, and he will start to break him and slow him down. If we get into round 2, I think it goes all the way over to Billy Elekana. In the first round, I think Aslan live for that KO. Maybe he goes for a sub, but I think he's really just looking to kill Billy Elekana in the first round. And that's probably what's going to happen. But in a fight like this, where I know that the longer the fight goes, it's probably going to favor Elekana. When I know Elekana is the more well-rounded fighter, he's got the cleaner striking, in my opinion, and he's got the much better grappling. I got to take Billy Elekana. I mean, I could sit here and talk about the reasons why, but I kind of just gave you the reasons why. I don't think Aslan is that good. I think Aslan is a knockout artist who only has a KO. If he doesn't get a KO, he's probably not going to win. He has basically no grappling and no level of grappling, and Elekana is much better there. And I know he lost his debut, but that's against a guy who, if he beats Nikita Krylov, he's like 1 or 2 fights away from a title shot at light heavyweight. So can you really fault him? And he almost finished Guskov with a rear naked choke in the first round. So give me Billy Elekana to win. I'm going to go with a round 2 rear naked choke submission for Billy Elekana over Ibo Aslan. Ibo could come in and nuke him in the first round, but I just have this weird feeling that, Ibo Aslan is not as good as people believe. So give me Billy Elekana. Give me Billy Elekana round 2 rear naked choke submission. I think he uses his grappling, survives an early scare, and tires out Aslan and chokes him out. So Billy Elekana round 2 rear naked choke sub is going to be the pick. All right, next fight up is in the bantamweight division. You got a battle between dangerous Davey Grant taking on Damon the Monster Blackshear. Everybody's kind of just talking like Davey Grant's going to get taken down. Blackshear's at a different level on the ground. He's going to choke him out or he's going to get a submission. And that's the easy way to break down this fight. And I do believe that Blackshear is the better grappler, 100%. If he takes down Davey Grant, if he gets on top of him and beats him up with ground and pound and looks to grab the rear naked choke, looks to grab the guillotine, looks to take his arm off with the Kimura, I think he can do it. He's much better on the ground. But on the feet, I think Damon Blackshear is a liability. And people are going to look at his last fight, right, against Alatong Haley, and they're going to say, well, look at how good he looked in the striking. He was out striking Alatong. He was outlanding him. He was the cleaner, crisper striker. I believe that to be true. But one thing I do think about Blackshear is if you put the pressure on him, his striking is not going to look as good. His defense is not going to look as good. I think the pressure is really what gets to Damon Blackshear, and we kind of had an idea and a glimpse of that in the fight that he had with Cody Gibson. Gibson pushed forward immediately and started landing on him, started hurting him, ripping to the body, ripping to the head, and he just kind of shelled up and sat there and almost got finished in the first round. I think Davey Grant is much better than a Cody Gibson. He is getting old. He's getting up there, but he's a veteran. And I think if you can strike and stay on the feet with a fighter who's as dangerous on the feet as Ramon Taveras, I think if he can stop those takedowns, which it is a big if, I think Davey Grant could potentially knock out Damon Blackshear. And if not, I think the majority of this fight probably takes place on the feet, and I think Davey Grant can outstrike Damon Blackshear and win a decision. He's not the most pretty striker. He's not the cleanest striker, but he does that little switch stance hook to the body and then the hook to the head. He's got weird angles that he throws his combinations from. He's got a lot of power, and I think the power could be the biggest problem for a guy like Damon. Now, if Damon takes him down early in the first round and gets a dominant position, yeah, he's probably going to submit him, or ground and pound him until he gives up a submission. Like, Damon by submission is probably the smartest idea. But if we get into the midpoint of the second round and Davey Grant's still there and he's starting to stop those takedowns and force a striking matchup, I think in most cases, if this fight gets to round 3, I'm going to take Davey Grant to win round 3 at like a 90% chance. I would say 85-90% chance if this fight gets to the third round and it goes to a decision, I think Davey Grant probably wins the third round at a much higher clip than Damon Blackshear. I like Blackshear, don't get me wrong. I pick him in a lot of fights. I do not pick against Damon Blackshear very often, so you have to think, like, I have a reason behind this, and I just think the veteranship of Davey Grant, the awkward angles on his strikes, the forward pressure, the power that he has in his shots. I think he can knock out Damon Blackshear, but I think he's not going to be held down on the ground for at least 2 rounds, and I think the fight's going to be a lot closer than people give Davey Grant credit for. So at the end of the day, I'm actually going to take the plus 200 underdog in Davey Grant. I'm going to take him to win 29-28 split decision. I just feel like he's going to win that third round if we get there, and he's going to make the striking exchanges on the feet much closer than people think. So give me Davey Grant. Give me Davey Grant to win 29-28 split decision. I think he's going to have the skills here to make this fight close, and I think he's going to be able to hang on the feet with Damon, and it's not going to be easy for Damon to hold him down and set up that submission. So Davey Grant, 29-28 split decision as the underdog is going to be my pick here. All right, next fight up is going to be in the welterweight division. You have a battle between Muslim Salikhov and Carlos Leal. Aside from a weird spinning wheel kick, I think Muslim Salikhov is getting the brakes beat off him in this fight. I think Carlos Leal is going to be able to pick his shots and push back Muslim Salikhov at a very, 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 very early success rate. I think he's going to come forward. Muslim's going to open up with some body kicks, try to throw a head kick. I think Leal's going to block it. He's going to move forward. He's going to start to catch the shots on his shell, and he's just going to start to fire those counter shots. Boom, straight down the middle. Boom, straight, and a hook. Pop, pop, popping them off. Bang, 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 bang. Mixing it up, ripping to the body. Boom, ripping up top. Boom, and I think he's going to eventually just slow down Muslim Salikhov and hurt him up against the fence and put a barrage on him and finish him off in the clinch. I just think Carlos Leal, like I said, aside from a spinning wheel kick, aside from a head kick that Leal doesn't see that drops him, aside from maybe a spinning kick to the body that hurts him, because, you know, anybody can go down with a perfectly placed body shot, I think Carlos Leal is just going to walk forward, find those openings, counter the big shots of Muslim with the straight, clean, short shots that he throws. So he's going to throw a big shot, boom, counter down the middle with a straight and a hook, straight and a hook. And if you're getting knocked out by Randy Brown, like, don't get me wrong, Randy Brown, he's improved so much. His boxing is very crisp. It's very clean. But I just think Carlos Leal is going to walk him down, beat him up, slow him down, hurt him to the body, rip up top, and just finish him off against the cage. I'm going to take Carlos Leal round 2 TKO over Muslim Salikhov. Like I said, a crazy spinning wheel kick or a head kick or maybe a spinning kick to the body. Those are all live for Salikhov, but I don't think he's going to be able to technically outstrike Carlos Leal for 15 minutes without getting hurt, without getting pushed back, and without Leal's pressure eventually getting to him and breaking him, probably up against the cage. So I'm going to take Carlos Leal to win round 2 TKO. It wouldn't shock me if it's in the first round, but I'm going to say Muslim survives the first round, gets hurt at the end of it, but survives. And then in round 2, Leal just pushes forward, counters with those straight punches down the middle, hurts him with a hook, forces him to shell up, and just rips to the body, rips up top, lands knees and elbows in the clinch, and folds him against the fence. Give me Carlos Leal round 2 TKO over Muslim Salikhov. I think he's going to look good here and look like a heavy favorite that he's foreshadowed to be. All right, up next, we got a battle in the bantamweight division between Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell, moving down from 145 pounds, taking on Saeed Nurmagomedov. I think that Mitchell's going to be okay at 135. I think he wasn't the biggest 145er. Power and physicality seemed to be an issue for him at 145. But I think even at 135, I think Saeed is a pretty bad matchup for the style of Bryce Mitchell. I don't necessarily see him taking down and holding down Nurmagomedov. I think if he does get a takedown, Nurmagomedov's hip heist, his ability to shrimp out and use the overhook or the whizzer to get back up to his feet is pretty good. And I think he's going to be at a huge disadvantage on the feet, a huge striking disadvantage. I think Saeed is going to be able to kind of pick him apart from the outside. Those lead leg question mark kicks, the spinning kicks to the body, the front kicks to the body. I think when it's at range, it's all Nurmagomedov. And we kind of expect that, right? Because Bryce Mitchell is a grappler at heart. Like, I know he slammed Kron Gracie and got a TKO, but for the most part, he's a grappler at heart, right? That's what Bryce Mitchell is. And I think he will get takedowns if this fight extends late, but I don't even think we're going to get to the third round in this fight. I think Saeed, I know he lost to Vinicius Oliveira, but I mean, look what Oliveira just did to Kyler Phillips. He pretty much dominated him for the second and third round, hurt him, rocked him, almost finished him off, but he did eventually get that TKO. Or I'm sorry, got the decision, but dominated the later rounds in that fight. And in this one, I just think Saeed is going to use the range, use the distance, control the range, and start landing those front kicks, that front stabbing kick to the body with the lead leg, the question mark kicks, the 1-2s. And I think it's going to force Bryce Mitchell to rush in and shoot. And I think he's going to catch him in a ninja choke and submit him. We know that with the style of grappling that Bryce Mitchell has, it's a lot of head on the outside singles, a lot of double legs. And he leaves his head right there to be wrapped up in a guillotine. Even before Gene Silva got the ninja choke on him, he almost got a guillotine in that fight, right? He almost had it in that first round. He was very, very close, but Mitchell got out. I think Saeed can sneak that hand under the chin, put the ninja choke on him, and just twist his head off, and probably could do it in the first round. And that's what I'm going to take. I'm going to take Saeed Nurmagomedov to outstrike him at range, outstrike him at distance, force Mitchell to shoot because he's uncomfortable and he can't really do much on the feet because of the range management and control and all the different weapons and the variety of kicks that Nurmagomedov's throwing. It's going to force him to shoot. He's going to rush in, shoot a bad takedown, leave his head on the outside. Nurmagomedov's going to snatch up that neck, lock up that ninja choke, and choke him out. I'm going to go Saeed Nurmagomedov to win a round 1 ninja choke submission. If it gets to the later rounds, yeah, I think Mitchell could probably start to get those takedowns easier, start to land ground and pound, and eventually set up a submission. Like 2-3 sub for Bryce Mitchell, I wouldn't be mad at you because I could see Saeed slowing down, but I just think Saeed is so fast twitch. He has such explosive movements on the feet. They're so fast. They're so non-telegraphed, and I don't think Mitchell's defense is good enough to handle that. And even if he's going to be, sized correctly in this fight, dropping down a weight class, I still think he's going to leave that neck out there for Saeed to snatch up because we know he's going to shoot takedowns. He's not going to strike for 15 minutes. I think he's going to get outstruck, be made uncomfortable by the variety of strikes, shoot a bad takedown that's telegraphed, leave his neck out there, get it snatched up, and get choked out by Saeed Nurmagomedov. So give me Saeed Nurmagomedov a round 1 ninja choke submission over Bryce Mitchell. He's going to snatch that neck up, and it's not going to be pretty. That's going to be my pick, the official pick. Saeed Nurmagomedov, round 1 ninja choke submission over Bryce Mitchell. All right, next up is in the light heavyweight division. You have a battle between Nikita Krylov taking on Bogdan Guskov. This is an interesting matchup, probably one of my more anticipated fights on the card, and I think it's great matchmaking by the UFC. Guskov has come into the UFC and lost his debut, but, pretty much dominated everybody else in his track. I mean, knocked out Zach Pauga, who just got a pretty big win going into the finals of the Karate Combat Tournament. He got a knockout victory over Ryan Spann, and look how good Spann just looked, up a weight class at heavyweight, and he also got a submission over Billy Elekana. It should have been a TKO, but it was a submission. And here's the way that people are going to look at this fight. Krylov came into his last fight. He got into a striking match with the striker and got knocked out. He's a much better grappler than Bogdan Guskov. Guskov has issues with giving up his back, leaving his neck open, getting caught in a submission, and Krylov's probably going to submit him. I completely understand, and I think that it's definitely possible that Nikita Krylov exposes the holes in the grappling that we've seen from Guskov, gets on top of him, beats him up, and eventually submits him. I think if you're going to play Nikita Krylov, you take Nikita Krylov by submission because I think that's 95% of the way he's going to win this fight is by a submission. And when I look at this fight, I definitely think that he could get that takedown, get on top, and slice through the guard and beat him up with ground and pound and submit him. But I also think that based on the fact that everybody that Guskov has fought in recent fights has tried to take him down and tried to submit him, obviously they're not at the level of jiu-jitsu that a Nikita Krylov is, but he still is able to remain calm and survive. In his UFC debut, okay, that's different. It was his debut jitters, etc. And, Volkan never really goes for submissions, so I don't think he was expecting a grapple-heavy approach from Volkan Oezdemir. But he's going to be expecting grappling from Krylov. Krylov's a big guy. He did have that knockout victory over, I can't think of the guy's name. Alexander Gustafsson. He knocked out Gustafsson with like an uppercut in the clinch or a knee when they were in close. And yeah, he's got a lot of power. He's a decent striker, but the longer he stays on the feet with Bogdan Guskov, the more likely it is that he's going to be knocked out. I think if this fight stays a kickboxing match for the first round, I think Guskov knocks out Nikita Krylov. We know that Krylov's going to be looking to use those takedowns. We know that Krylov's going to be looking to use that wrestling, get on top of Bogdan Guskov, land ground and pound and get that sub. Like everybody knows that's what Krylov's going to look to do. And I just think that based on the fact that Bogdan Guskov is going to be expecting the takedowns, he's going to be expecting the wrestling, he's going to be expecting to get set up in submissions. I think he's going to get taken down, but I think he's going to stay calm, stay patient, work his way back up to the feet, and I think he's going to find the KO late in the first round. I think Guskov's going to land one of those awkward uppercuts that's going to rock Krylov, force him to shoot a bad takedown. I think Guskov's going to stuff the takedown, break off the clinch, and he's going to land another uppercut, a big hook. It's going to hurt Nikita Krylov, and he's going to put him down in the first round by knockout. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going Bogdan Guskov. I like the way that this guy throws those awkward angles of punches, like weird hooks, Russian-style hooks, awkward corkscrew uppercuts, and it's very hard to see, and it's very hard to telegraph. And against a wrestler like Nikita Krylov, those uppercuts and those awkward angle shots are going to be there for him to exploit. And I know he's going to be expecting the wrestling. So if he gets taken down and gets submitted, would I be surprised? No, because I know that's what Krylov's going to look to do. I think if he hurts him on the feet and knocks him out, it's probably going to be with a head kick. Probably going to fake a shot, throw a head kick. Maybe Guskov doesn't see it. It hurts him and puts him away. But I think Guskov's going to be ready for the wrestling. He'll get taken down once, get put in a bad spot, work his way back up to the feet, start to land his punches, those awkward hooks, those awkward uppercuts. He's going to stun Krylov with an uppercut. He's going to force another shot, stuff the takedown, rip another shot, bang, 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 hurt him with another shot, and then put him out. So give me Bogdan Guskov, round 1 TKO, probably in the last minute and a half of the first round. I think he catches him with that uppercut, puts him down, and finishes him off. Give me the underdog. Give me Bogdan Guskov, round 1 TKO over Nikita Krylov here. All right, up next is a battle in the flyweight division. You have a fight between Almabaev taking on the UFC newcomer. I guess he's not a newcomer now because it is his third fight in the promotion. In Shooto Box affiliated fighter, I should say, Jose Ochoa. I think that if this fight stays on the feet for an elongated period of time, I think that Ochoa has a huge possibility to knock out Almabaev. I think Almabaev has decent striking. He has a good jab, a decent check left hook, a solid 1-2, to the point where I think he can make it somewhat competitive. But the smart thing for him to do would be to change levels, get a takedown, get on top of Ochoa, and try to just hold him there, accrued a lot of top time and land ground and pound, look to set up submissions. I mean, this guy is probably one of the best grapplers in the flyweight division at the current point in time. He has good takedowns, good top control. He will hunt for submissions. He'll take your back, look for a rear naked choke. And, so on the ground, I think it is Almabaev all day. He's going to have better top control. He's going to have great submission ability. Like, he's going to look to set up an arm triangle, look to set up a rear naked choke, look to take the back, look to get the clock down by staying on top and trying to stay active so the ref doesn't stand them up. And I think Ochoa has the power, the one-shot power, to hurt Almabaev. I mean, we saw him get hurt and finished by Manel Kape. Obviously, there was some controversy with that, some eye pokes or something that happened, but he was clearly outmatched on the feet, and he wasn't able to get the takedowns. If he's not able to get the takedowns, I think, just like Manel Kape, I think Jose Ochoa will beat him up on the feet. He's going to chop those legs. He's going to throw big, heavy power, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, he knocked out Cody Durden, and that's not that impressive of a win. You know, I think at this point, after what we've seen Cody Durden do, the guy doesn't quit. He's not that easy to knock out. I know Mohammad Makhachev landed that knee and then submitted him with that choke. He got submitted by Tagir Ulanbekov, but, he's not easy to put out with one shot, and that's basically what Ochoa did. I mean, he walked across the cage, landed a switch kick, and then, boom, hit a big right hook and knocked him out and put him to sleep. So Ochoa has one-punch power. He's quick. He's explosive. He's a fast fighter on the feet. I think he's much faster than Almabaev in terms of the striking combinations and putting everything together. And, I mean, like I said, we saw him get knocked out by Manel Cape. I think it's a different type of striking where it's not as, finesse-based with Ochoa. He's more meat and potatoes, walk-forward, Muay Thai style of striking. And, yeah, if Almabaev gets those takedowns, I think he pretty easily wins these fights, right? Like, he'll probably start to slow down Ochoa in the late portion of the second round if he continues to get takedowns and works from the top. So I think late in this fight, it probably goes towards the side of Almabaev, because if it goes to like the 8.5, 9-minute mark, then the takedowns of Almabaev are probably working, and Ochoa is probably sitting against the cage or sitting on his back for a majority of that time. If it's primarily a striking match, I have to favor Ochoa because I think he's cleaner technically, and he's got much more power, and he's a lot faster than a guy like Almabaev. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take Jose Ochoa to win. I'm going to say he wins by a third-round TKO against Almabaev, and I also think it could be a situation where maybe the takedowns and wrestling of Almabaev work really well, but whenever they're on the feet, the power shots, the striking, and the damage is all done by Jose Ochoa, and that might tend to get him some of those rounds in a close fight where maybe a greasy split decision goes to Ochoa because he does the most damage. He causes the most damage in the fight. He has the most fight finish-esque moments, but Almabaev gets a lot of takedowns and controls, but the damage out-trumps the control time. So I could see him winning a decision, I could see him winning a split decision, and I could see him winning by knockout. I'm going to take the KO option. I think Ochoa will find the chin of Almabaev. Give me round 3 TKO for Jose Ochoa in this matchup, and we'll move on to the next one. Up next, we're at the featured bout of the evening between Shara Bullet Magomedov taking on the power bar in Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time breaking down this fight because I think we all know what the UFC is doing. They're trying to get Shara a highlight reel knockout in Abu Dhabi against a guy who, can put on the pressure late, can slow you down with forward pressure and forward movement. But he's also going to run into the creative striking output of a Shara Bullet in this fight. He's going to walk forward and he's going to run into big shots left and right. And maybe if he gets past the 8-minute mark, 9-minute mark, then he could probably start to slow down Shara, push him against the fence, land elbows, land knees in the clinch, and outwork him. I think that's 100% possible here. But at the end of the day, I think the UFC knows what they're doing. And it doesn't always work out, but I think it works out in this situation. I just think the power and the creativity and the striking of Shara Bullet is going to lead to an early knockout here against Marc-Andre Barriault. The spinning kicks, the spin kicks to the body, the switch kicks to the head, the 1-2 down the middle, the spinning back fist, one of those big strikes is going to catch Marc-Andre coming in. He's going to hurt him. He's going to pour it on against the fence, and he's going to fold him like an accordion. I see an early knockout here for Shara Bullet, and I'm not going to sit here and take the chance on the submission because I think everybody is well, Shara could take him down. Well, Shara maybe could submit him off his back. Well, maybe Shara could get a rear naked choke if he takes his back. I just don't trust the submission potentially happening here. So I'm going to take the first round knockout for Shara Bullet Magomedov. I just think Marc-Andre is going to come forward. He's going to get in your face. He's a fighter who breaks guys due to forward pressure and due to that grinding, nose to the grindstone style. And I think that's going to play into the game of Shara Magomedov. The pressure can get to him eventually. Like I said, if you get to that 8.5, 9, 10-minute mark, if you get into that third round, I think Marc-Andre probably wins the third round at a high clip. But I don't think that Marc-Andre is going to make it that far. I think he's going to run in to a big right hand, or he's going to get caught with a head kick. He's going to get dropped, and he's going to get finished. Give me Shara Bullet. Give me Shara Magomedov to win. I'm going to take him via round 1 knockout here in Abu Dhabi. I think he sits down Marc-Andre in the first round. He gets that highlight reel finish that I think the UFC is banking on here. They want to see a big finish for Shara. They want him to get a big win. They want him to get it in Abu Dhabi. And after that Michael Venom Page fight where we did take Page as the underdog, I just think Shara Bullet's going to find a way to land a big shot in round 1 and put him down. This fight is tailor-made for Shara, And if he drops the ball, then it's on him because Marc-Andre's tough. I just don't think it's going to happen. So give me Shara, Bullet, Magomedov, round 1 knockout. I think he catches him with a big right hand, hurts him, and then puts a flurry against the fence and sits him down. All right, next up, we got the co-main event of the evening in the bantamweight division, about between the former UFC bantamweight champion in Petr No Mercy Yan taking on Marcus the Maniac McGhee, fighting out of the MMA lab. Yeah, guys, if this was a 5-round fight, I'm all over Petr Yan in a 5-rounder. Since it's a 3-rounder, I think there's a chance that McGhee gets that decision. I think we can look at the Song Yadong fight and say that Petr Yan, he didn't start as slow as he normally does. He put the pedal to the metal a little bit earlier. But, I mean, honestly, he was getting kind of cracked up in the early portions of that fight. He was getting hit with some big shots from Song Yadong. The left hook, the right hand, the 1-2 down the middle. I mean, Song Yadong was kind of putting it on him in round 1. And if you go back and you watch the Deiveson-Figueiredo fight, I'm a guy who's probably one of the most notorious Deiveson-Figueiredo haters in all of MMA and all of the MMA fan base. I just do not like that guy's style. I do not think he's that good. I think he's gotten a lot of wins that he probably shouldn't have gotten. Even in that fight, later on in the fight, he was getting hurt. But early on, Petr Yan was kind of just beating him up. If it was a 5-rounder, like I said, I think the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round heavily goes to Petr Yan. I think he starts to download that data. And I think he probably would finish McGhee in the 4th or the 5th round. I just think he's more equipped for those 5-round fights, and he would eventually slow him down. But because Yan takes a little bit to get behind on the ball, because he takes a little bit of time in order to figure out what he wants to do, I think McGhee could easily take the 1st round. I mean, this guy's a really good striker. I think this is a fight where people are going to look at the level of competition of Petr Yan, and they're going to look at the ability that he has, and they're going to be like, oh, this is no match for McGhee's no match for him. McGhee hasn't fought anywhere near the level of competition, and that part is true. But in a 3-round fight, you always have to be scared that Yan isn't going to do enough, and it's going to be a close, greasy decision. Like that fight with Sean O'Malley, I thought Yan clearly won that. I went back and rewatched it. I can kind of understand why they gave that fight to Sean O'Malley. I still think Yan deserved to win, but a lot of these fights, he just finds a way to lose. Like he's a guy who will find a way to lose a fight that he should clearly be winning. Now, he's on a 2-fight win streak. He got that decision win over Song Yadong, got that decision win over Deiveson-Figueiredo. Those are both higher level competition than Marcus McGhee, but McGhee's very good at cutting angles. He switches stances on a dime. He doesn't telegraph a lot of his movements. He throws good straight punches. He throws good in the pocket. He's got good switch stance hooks, decent kicks to the head, decent kicks to the body, to the point where I think Yan eventually will download the data, and I think at a high clip, Petr Yan wins the 3rd round. I don't think he finishes Marcus McGhee, though. But early on, I think McGhee's going to start landing those boxing combinations. I think he's going to land some switch stance straights. I think he's going to land the check hook, start to land the inside low kicks and outside low kicks, and start to kind of be competitive enough in the boxing for the first 10 minutes that could make this fight very, very, very close. And you never know with Abu Dhabi judges. I know nobody here is going to have that hometown crowd advantage, but they always tend to have a little bit of weird judging when it comes to the fights. And I think this could be a situation where McGhee ekes out the first 2 rounds. Yan dominates the 3rd round, but it's only a 10-9. And, yeah, I could see a greasy split decision for Marcus McGhee. I really could. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Marcus McGhee. I could be wrong here. I think Petr Yan should win. He's the better fighter. He could finish Marcus McGhee late, but I just think Yan's going to fight close. It's going to be a close kickboxing match for the first 2 rounds, and I think Yan wins the 3rd round, but you never know what the judges are going to see in that first 10 minutes. So I'm going to take the big underdog. I think this fight is closer than the line makes you think. I think this fight is a lot closer than people are going to think going into it. And I think Marcus McGhee can land good boxing combinations. He can stay in the pocket and trade with Yan and hit him with some good shots and make it closer than it should be. So give me Marcus the Maniac McGhee to win. I'm going to take him 29-28 split decision. I want Yan to win. Don't get me wrong. I love Petr Yan. I want him to win. I want him to get a title shot. I think if he wins this fight, he probably gets a title shot. So I want him to win. I'm hoping for a good Jan performance. I'm hoping for a signature performance. But in 3-round fights, I just don't trust him that much. So I'm going to have to take Marcus McGhee. I'm going to take a shot on McGhee. 29-28 split decision for the Maniac here. All right, and now we're at the main event of the evening in the UFC's middleweight division. You have a battle between Robert the Reaper Whittaker taking on the Dutch Knight Reinier de Ridder. I love this fight. I love everything about this fight. I cannot wait to watch this fight. This is a great main event. And I understand why everybody is on Robert Whittaker, right? He's the much better striker. He's got much better distance management. He's better defensively. He throws good combinations. He finishes off his punches with his high kicks. He throws good kicks to the body and good kicks to the legs. He's very evasive and he's hard to track down. But what does Robert Whittaker stylistically always have issues with? Pressure fighters. And not so much just the pressure fighters and the forward pressure fighters, but the fighters who have that physicality. They have that physicality where they just know how to get in close, make it dirty, make it nasty, and just find a way to hurt you. And I don't think Reinier de Ridder has good striking at all. I would say there's some fighters on the amateur circuit and the lower pro level circuit that probably have cleaner, better striking than Reinier de Ridder. He doesn't have great punches. He doesn't have great kicks. But he kind of reminds me of a guy who's already used that physicality to slow down, take down, beat up, and finish Robert Whittaker in the middleweight champion in Dricus du Plessis. I see a lot of similarities between Reinier de Ridder and Dricus. I think Dricus is a better striker, but I think he's awkward and similarly awkward enough just in the way he goes for his takedowns, the way he is able to tie guys up in the clinch, and the way he's able to control guys once the fight hits the mat. And I think Reinier de Ridder has the recipe to finish Robert Whittaker in Abu Dhabi. Like, I fully believe that Reinier de Ridder, like, if it's a primary kickboxing match, I think Whittaker knocks him out. You know, like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. And I think de Ridder can outstrike Robert Whittaker. I don't think he can outstrike him from a technical level, but I think he could make it dirty. He could get in his face. He could close that distance off, tie up Robert Whittaker, land knees to the body like he did against Bo Nickel, land elbows in the clinch, tie him up, get takedowns, slow down and suck the wind out of Robert Whittaker the longer that this fight goes. Early on, well, I would say if Whittaker gets a TKO, it's probably in the later rounds, like maybe 3, 4, 5. I think if de Ridder finishes this fight, it's probably in the first 2.5 rounds. So round 1, 2, or 3, I think de Ridder has a chance to take down Whittaker and slow him down. I know that Whittaker has really good takedown defense. I know he's really, really hard to get down to the mat. But when people do get him down, they tend to have a lot of success. People who do get those takedowns, they have a lot of success when they're on top of Whittaker. I mean, just look at Dricus. He took him down. Elbows, nasty ground and pound. Set up a Darce choke at the end of the first round. Whittaker was basically done going into round 2. Then you look again at Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev is a way better wrestler than de Ridder. Like, I think everybody knows that. We're not really, cracking any cases here, but he was able to shoot low, get the takedown, get on top, and then get that neck crank rear naked choke, and Whittaker tapped immediately due to an injury. He had an issue with his bottom teeth because Chimaev squeezed him so hard. But in this fight, I mean, who's to say de Ridder can't get on top of Whittaker, beat him up, and force him to give up his neck and choke him out? Who's to say that de Ridder can't get a weird, sloppy takedown, get on top, and ground and pound him with elbows and hammer fists and not give him a chance to get up, beat him up and force Whittaker to give up his back, force Whittaker to give up his neck, and force Whittaker to give up a position where de Ridder can snatch up a submission and finish him off? I think de Ridder's winning this fight. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with Reinier de Ridder to finish Robert Whittaker in the first 3 rounds. I'm going to say he finds a way to get in close and get that takedown. I think from the top, he butchers him with elbows, butchers him with hammer fists, beats him up, forces him to give up his neck on the way up, and snatches up a Darce choke and submits him. I'm going to go with the Dutch Knight. I'm going with Reinier de Ridder to win this fight by a late second round Darce choke submission. I think he's going to get him down. I think he's going to beat him up from the top. I think Whittaker's going to try to get up, and he's not going to have success, and he's going to give his neck up, and he's going to get subbed. So for my official pick, I'm going with the Dutch Knight. Give me Reinier de Ridder to defeat Robert Whittaker in Abu Dhabi via a late second round Darce choke submission and punch his ticket to the winner of the fight at UFC 319 between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. All right, that is all for my UFC Abu Dhabi predictions. My UFC Fight Night Whittaker versus de Ridder preview, predictions, and breakdown. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and snatch up your favorite submission on the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads from the premier mixed martial arts and pro wrestling channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out.